your initial thoughts on Indiana and how they're going to challenge you on tomorrow night?
Right. I think anytime you have, a team, and I guess we can say we have it to a degree, but they play a couple different ways. Obviously, when they have both their bigs in versus when Luke Goody plays the 4. So, I think that's what jumps out more than anything, is just making sure you're prepared, to how they play the game. With 2 different lineups during the course of the game. No matter who starts, at some point they'll have both bigs in. At some point they'll have him in, playing the 4. And that normally ends up being Ballo unless there's foul trouble. But we really don't know because, Malik's coming back from his injury. So he hasn't yet got the minutes that he had before because they're trying to wean him back in. But I think you saw a pretty good sample size of the finish of the game. He had struggled shooting up to that point, but then he played pretty well and made some plays down the stretch there. So I think that's what jumps out, more than anything. And then their guards' ability, you got to kind of look at each guard and grab their best game and then collectively say, what if they all had their best game at the same time? Like Mbako has shot the ball a lot better here the last 2 games. Like we've all seen through the years, Trey Galloway and how good of a player he is. Last year when Washington State played Stanford, Carlisle had 31 and Rice had 35 in the same game. And so I think that kind of jumps out at you as a coach when you look at it and you're saying, well, they haven't quite, been able to get it going. Well, it's hard. It's hard when you adjust and your 5's a good player, your 4's a good player, your 3's a good player, they have other good guards. It's hard to blend, and that's what we have to look at, is all those guys having their best game at the same time. I always say this is not Indiana. I always say that. I said expect everybody to be at their best and prepare for everybody at their best, and it just keeps you honest. Even though a guy doesn't shoot 3s very much or whatever, just don't hand him a 3. You just don't give him a 3. Now if you have to help and stop and do things else and he gets one, then just organically that's cool. But that's the way we look at it. We look at that, however we play every team. But I think for them, it even holds more true because we've all seen, we played Ballo at Arizona, so we've seen Ballo dominate a game. We've seen Malik Renew dominate a game. We've seen Mbako go off for 25. I just mentioned 2 guys, that scored 30 in the same game. So I can go on and on, right? So I think that's first and foremost for us is we have to give them our best craft, but we have to also walk into it thinking that we're going to get theirs also.
Obviously, neither Trey or Caleb are your typical 7-foot plus,
right?
Monster, but they're pretty interchangeable. How much does that help when you're playing Wolf and Golden or you're playing?
Yeah, it helps defensively,
Malik
especially.
And Ballo.
Yeah, when you're mixed, you have the matchups and you're mixing things up, and those guys and their ability to kind of guard different guys, but they don't have that elite size. And I think more than anything is being able to guard and play against elite size and try to play to your strengths and not get into wrestling matches, because normally in those wrestling matches you're going to lose when you're giving up 3-4 inches and 30 pounds. But those guys are tough covers. Ballo was a tough cover for us when we played him in Arizona. We've obviously played Malik multiple times here in Indiana, and he's a really good player. But they got more players than just those 2 guys. They have a lot of really good players.
Just the ball pressure you got from CJ, Jakari, Miles against Michigan. Do you expect that on an every game basis now, or was that a matchup type of thing for them?
We need to do a good job guarding the ball. I think when we've done that in the start of the season, we had blow-bys. So we'd go get people and we'd pressure them. They'd just go by us. And now we've done a much better job of being able to guard the ball in the open court, but also contain the ball in the open court. But we also, we have to be able to respect the athleticism, the quickness of Rice, Galloway getting downhill, Carlisle, all their pieces there. You still got to go the next game and be able to do the same thing. And maybe it affects them, maybe it doesn't. But, that's ultimately what we want to do.
With IU's propensity to play 2 bigs, is there some similarities between the way you attacked Michigan's 2 bigs with how you want to?
Yeah, well, offensively it's different, right? Because Danny Wolf handles the basketball. That was so unique. You don't see that a lot. But yeah, just trying to keep both of those guys off the glass more than anything. Like you work hard to stay out of rotations, and like you get into rotations, and then you have to box out Renault or Balo. Like they're normally going to get it. They've proven that. So you got to be able to stay out of those rotations, so you keep that rebound responsibility. And now when you got to help as a big, you got to guard cracking, and like it just doesn't work. It's like the mouse and the elephant, right? And that piece right there for us has got to be important. And it kind of led to Brian's question is, if you can't contain the dribble, now you got to help. And now if shot goes up while you're in help, now you got littles on bigs, and you normally end up fouling. You give up an offensive rebounds and fouling. So I think that's going to be important for us. And we got to play in transition. Our numbers from transition has been good, but if we can cause turnovers or we can get defensive rebounds, you can get in transition. Well, if you can't cause turnovers and you can't get a rebound, it's going to eliminate your transition opportunities.
You had high expectations for Trey coming into the season, talking about him, an all-conference kind of breakthrough. How would you assess what he's done? Now we're halfway through Big Ten play.
Yeah, exactly what we thought. Yeah, he's a good player. He can score. Braden and him really work together. Like we do a lot of the pocket passes and the short rolls that we didn't do with Zachary, and for obvious reasons. And like that's really opened up things for us and his ability to make plays and to pass. Like he's done a good job passing the ball too. But he's worked hard, man. He's put in a lot of time, and then the time he has down from his responsibility to us, he's working, and you can see that, and that's why I'm just, not really sure about him. I'm sure about his work. If that makes any sense, right? Like guys always want the confidence from you, and my confidence comes from me watching you work, and then or lack thereof, right? You get some guys that are like, hey man, like your effort's great, but your results have to be great. Like if the game is effort and results. Well, Trey's always given that effort. He just got hindered because of Zach. And from a spacing standpoint, we didn't play him sometimes. And he waited and he kept working, and here we are.
So after the 5 straight 3-day turnarounds, you had a couple days to, practice in a non-opponent specific manner. Probably was there anything you wanted to really emphasize in terms of a get back to basics perspective?
Not really. No. Not really. All the same things we work on. More passing and catching, more being fundamentally sound, working on our angles of screens, like making sure we're setting good screens and make sure we're being legal. And then being active defensively, like understanding when we want to get into doubles, when we don't, when we got to get into a double and get out of it quick. Got to be able to disrupt passers. Like, no, just really just harping on all the things that we normally harp on.
Do you see this game as like a season or a program measuring stick in a lot of ways? Because that seems to be the perception from a lot of fans.
Not really. Just, it's game 11. It's like the first game of the, second part of the conference season. So we're 8-2, and now just, trying to get a win to get going, just to try to get it. So, like, I always harp on them about putting yourself in position to win a Big Ten championship. We're not in a position to do that. And so keep helping your cause, keep putting yourself in there, and you're just hoping with like 2-3 games to go that, you got a chance to do it. But, you got to take care of home court. We've let one slip away from us, and we got to play better. I thought other night against Michigan we played better.
Has Cam kind of evolved this year where he's got to be more than just a 3D guy, and saw, his role kind of be all over the place at different times this season?
Yeah. Well, I think Daniel's injury, kind of moved some things. He was one of the guys that got moved in that equation. So, just trying to get the best group out there, and it probably took us the most time to get there, this team, more than anything. You just kind of know with the other teams it kind of worked, and you work through your best players and your best guys, and where does that get us? And just think if he's in our backcourt right now, like what that means to other people, right? Or what that means to him. And so you saw a lot of spot minutes from pretty solid players early in the year, because everybody was trying. We were trying to give everybody that opportunity to see how they were. and how they played when the popcorn was turning, because guys weren't separating themselves in practice. Doesn't mean they were bad, but it definitely means they weren't great, you know. And so like you just were like, hey, it normally just takes care of itself. You're like, well, who are you going to play? I'm like, play the guys who play the best. You play, they're going to practice every day for 3 hours. You're going to watch them. You're going to be with them in June, July, August, September. It's easy, and sometimes it's not easy. And this wasn't easy. So like getting him to say like, what's best for our team is like sticking him at the 4, and then it offsets us, right? Because now, like, can he guard those really big guys? I mean, that's a hard thing. Like when you're that body type to guard someone like a Malik Renew, that's really hard. It's really difficult. But then you have an advantage on the other end. You know, as he plays behind the ball screen, as he gets spaced, as he gets whatever, now you take some of the ultimate size and you bring him away from the basket, which, you know, I could write a dissertation on it, dealing with the size that we've had, people pulling him away from the rim. Like, and so he's handled it. Like, we didn't start him, and he kept finishing games. And then we started him, but I don't know if I started him, like, at that time. He deserved to. But he had to go against A&M, he had to go against Auburn, and those dudes, man. And I don't know if that was the best matchup. It's just a little bit different. Sometimes you don't start, because now when you sub, they sub out, and sometimes you can get that cross match where it helps you. So sometimes that's helped him, sometimes that's hurt him. But more than anything, he's done a good job. He's been solid. Just trying to get him defensively to use his athleticism and his quickness. When they do have it on the perimeter, like, he should be on it. Like we've had him jam before and pick up the ball like he did. And so like here he is guarding Malik Renew, but yet he used to pick up the point guard. And so it's a little bit, you know, you got to be able to flip it. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, because when it gets flipped on you, that's when you got a sub right there. But if it flips in your direction and they can't handle you out there, like, that's when you can get one of them kind of game-changing sequences where you can get 2 or 3 threes in a short amount of time, and that can really help you, give you that motivation.